And now Sony has launched the A7R Mark III. So how does it compare against the rest of the 50 megapixel? The last time we compared the A7R Mark II against the Canon 5DSR and the Credo 50. Now, Sony has launched the A7R Mark III. And of course, it's time for a little update to see how this fares against the rest of the 50 megapixel kings. Now, at the first glance, the A7R Mark III and the A7R Mark II look almost identical. But the changes are all under the skin. For starters, they finally added a USB 3C port onto the camera, which makes tethering so much quicker. A very essential upgrade for the professional photographer who shoots tethered. They've also put in a much larger battery, which makes battery changes during shoots a less frequent thing. And one of the most important upgrades they've actually done to the camera is the menu system. They've actually added a favorites part to the menu, and in fact it's 3 pages worth, which means you could have 1 page for photography, 1 page for video, and 1 page for utilities such as formatting your card. They've also increased the frame rate of the camera to a crazy 10 frames per second, making this the fastest 50 megapixel camera you can find on the market right now. Now, what about image quality, right? We're going to be looking at the the Mark II and the Mark III to see if there's any change in dynamic range and, of course, noise performance. Now, let's see how these 4 different cameras perform in the studio. These 4 cameras are mounted with the most commonly used lens that a professional would use them with. Now, all these 4 cameras are shot at an ISO of 100. Now, from my eyes, I can see that all 4 of them are performing very admirably. And if I were to really pull a winner, I would have to say it would be the Credo 50, where it has that little bit more edge definition. And between the A7R Mark II and the A7 Mark III, I can't really see a difference, to be honest. So I would say that the A7R Mark II and the A7R Mark III are pretty much the same in terms of sensor performance, in terms of sharpness. Now let's see how these 4 different cameras stack up against each other in terms of dynamic range, and let's see if there's any difference between the A7R Mark II and the A7R Mark III. Now these images are all shot at an ISO of 100 and deliberately overexposed by 2 stops. So this is what it looks like after some adjustments have been made in Capture One Pro, where we've got the exposure slider pulled in at -4 and the high dynamic range where the highlights have been pulled all the way up to 100. And what we're looking for specifically is how these 4 cameras can pull back the highlight area, or rather highlight detail in the overexposed picture frame over here. Now looking at these 4 images, it's quite clear that the 5DSR is doing the worst, where it's not doing very well in terms of recovering the highlight detail over here, versus the A7R Mark II and the A7R Mark III, which are doing a much better job. Now what is really interesting here is that it seems to me that the A7R Mark II is doing a slightly better job than the A7R Mark III, looking at how it's able to pull in a little bit more detail in the document here on the very edges as compared to the A7R Mark III. But of course, the crown has to be given to the Credo 50, where it's able to pull in an enormous and incredible amount of overexposed detail. Just look at how it's able to discern the document from the edge of the picture frame. Now let's see what happens when we do the same test at an ISO of 400. And again, the 5DSR is faring the worst, not bringing back much detail in the highlights, or rather the overexposed areas. The A7R Mark II and the A7R Mark III are doing a much better job. But again, the crown goes to the Credo 50, where it's able to bring back an incredible amount of detail here, and likewise very clearly discerning the document from the edge of the picture frame. Now let's see how these 4 different cameras perform when we deal with underexposure in terms of pulling out shadow detail. These 4 images were shot at an ISO of 100 and deliberately underexposed by 2 stops. And this is what it looks like after we pull it up. all the way up at the exposure slider to +4. Now what I would say is that the 5DSR is got quite a bit of noise over here as compared to the rest. The A7R Mark II and the A7R Mark III are both doing a very good job. I would not say that the A7R Mark III is necessarily pulling out more shadow detail than the A7R Mark II. It's almost no difference as far as I can see, with the Credo 50 just giving it a little bit more edge detail, but not terribly significant. Now let's take a look at ISO 400. And right off the bat, I would say the 5DSR is producing the most amount of noise and the least amount of sharpness and details when we pull up the exposure sliders compared to the rest of the cameras. The Credo 50 has a slight edge in terms of sharpness and details compared to the rest, but just ever so slightly. But what is most interesting of all, when I look at the A7R Mark III picture here, image rather, on the right, and the A7R Mark II on the left, it seems to me the A7R Mark III has got a little bit less noise. Approximately half stop better than the A7R Mark II. Now perhaps this is where the sensor performance difference lies between these two cameras, the A7R Mark II and the A7R Mark III. Now what about high ISO like 6400? So let's take a look with the exposure pulled all the way up. To be honest, I can't really tell much of a difference between the two cameras. I think the difference is really small, and let's inspect another part of the image. And likewise, I think the difference is so small, it's really hard to tell the difference in terms of noise between the two cameras. Now let's talk about the new feature from the A7R Mark III called Pixel Shift. What you would do after you've taken the 4 images, you would put them together in the Sony Imaging Edge software. And what most people don't talk about is that it only works with available light, not with flash. At least not with Studio Flash, which is kind of a bit of a disappointment. But nonetheless, let's just see what benefits it brings. Now as you can see here in the pixel stacked, or rather the pixel shifted image, the definition and details on the leaves here is better than the one from the A7R Mark III single image. And also the colors of the artificial plant here seem a bit more vibrant and possibly more accurate than the single image. Now the other benefit of the pixel shifted image is the elimination of moire. As you can see here in the single shot of the A7R Mark III, there's still a little bit of moire going on here, and likewise for the Credo 50, which is even more pronounced. But for the pixel shifted image, it has been completely eliminated, which is quite amazing. So there you have it, the A7R Mark III, a very worthy successor to the very successful A7R Mark II. Kudos for Sony for improving this camera. I'd like to thank Sony Singapore for lending me the cameras to muck around for the past 1 week. Thank you for watching. I hope this has helped you in some way or the other. Until next time,